Thank you for joining me, Cordelia. Lovely to see
Hello,
you.
Ben. Hello,
And
Ben.
hello. And I just wanted to start off talking a bit about your background and how you came to work at Dior and what your kind of background, your history, family history is. Can you give us that in a little bit of kind of history?
Well, how I came at Dior, I'm in the house now for 11 years nearly. I was not even 30 years old when I arrived, and I arrived for Baby Dior because I was designer of children clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Before I had my little brand, and I came over to take Baby Dior, and I did that now for 11 years. And 4 years ago, I started Dior Maison on the top of that. That's how I arrived at Dior. So now the background was that I was working for Emmanuel Ungaro
Mm-hmm.
for 10
Your
years. I
first
started
fashion
very
job.
young.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I started there very young, and then I had my little brand of children clothes when I took a little gap for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was not going to work for a few years, but no, I did this little brand. And then at that point, LVMH liked my collection, and I was very happy that Delphine Arnault liked my collection. And with Cine Toledano, they asked me to join to take over Baby Dior. So it was a very beautiful challenge and experience. And after 11 years, we're just opened this morning for Baby Dior in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So,
All the pictures, it looks incredible. So obviously on top of this massive job, you're also renowned as one of France's prolific hosts and entertainers. And we're here today because are just about to launch a fantastic new book with Rizzoli, which is called Life in a French Country House, Entertaining for All Seasons. It's actually published in the UK. I think it comes out on October 12th. You said it's already out in
yes.
France.
Yeah, I just got out in France, and 12th of October in UK, America, and the rest of the world in English. Yes.
So we're really lucky because we're getting a sneak preview today.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I think it's fantastic that we can get to look inside the book and see a bit more of your life in your house. So tell us a bit more about. So you have a beautiful house. It's about an hour outside Paris, I believe.
Yes, exactly. It's in the north of France, at 1 hour from Paris. I wanted something very easy, because as we work a lot and sometimes I need to go back and forth, I wanted something that I could just take the car and be there even in the middle of the weekend or even for one night. And also my kids who are bigger, the big ones are 21, and they can stay in Paris and come back and still come to see us and not be too far. That was my priority when I was looking.
Yeah, the perfect distance, so you can be in the city, but then you can also escape to the country as well.
Exactly. It's a very good mix.
Which is great. So let's take. I think we can have a quick look at the property, which is we have a picture of it here. Hopefully, here we go. Which is in all its glory. It's stunning.
French, very French, right?
Very French, which is just gorgeous. So tell us a little bit more about the property and about the history. You said how old is it?
So the house is divided by a different, century. It goes from the 15th to the 19th. So it's different building. We cannot see on that picture the arcs, but there are arcs that were from the 14th, 15th century. And it's a house full of history. Actually, there was a designer who used to live there in the middle of the 1955 until 1980. Wow. Her name was Primrose Bordier. She was the first designer of tablecloths and bed linens and everything to put colors on it. And it's I didn't know that when I bought the house. I found out later, and we were doing exactly the same.
Same. You have this thread which continues with you, which is brilliant.
Yes, and so I always said that I like to design there, and I feel very inspired there, and I couldn't understand why, but very quickly I understood that she was not far, probably.
Yeah, and it's in the air. It's in the kind of ether around you.
And she was using flowers like me everywhere. So
well, perfect, absolutely perfect. And so you moved in 3 years ago. That's correct.
Yes, exactly.
And then you've done a lot of renovation, and I guess it's ongoing with a property like that.
It never stopped, a house never stopped. One of my best friends told me, "Oh yeah, you bought the house, well, wait for the rest." And I was like, "Well, I did a lot already." And he said, "Yeah, wait for the rest." And he was so right. But we started by the big things, you know, and the important things, and now it's, you know, it's never finished, right? So especially with old houses, you need to do very careful with the way you renovate them.
No, totally. It's a slow process. You have to.
Yeah, if you do new things and if you suddenly put like something like a beautiful painting brand new, it will not look right. I need to respect the places a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the part of my garden, in front of the garden, who's more à la française.
Yeah.
Who's a beautiful.
You're starting, or since the book's been done, you're starting to kind of do more work on the gardens as well.
Yes. Yes, the garden is my obsession. It was a dream of a little girl. You know, I'm obsessed by gardens since very young. My mother was obsessed with English gardens. I think I visit so many. And I started to renovate all the gardens. So that part is more the French part. And on the other side, it's more the English part. I wanted something very English. So I asked help from a landscaper from England because I couldn't do it alone. There are things that you can't do alone. But I'm learning and I love it.
A whole new skill. It's a whole different skill, gardening, I think.
Completely.
Yes. And I love the idea that you brought an English gardener in to help you with landscaping, which is...
I think they are divine because it corresponds completely to my kind of mind, because it's something very organized but disorganized. Like it looks disorganized, it looks natural, but in fact it's very organized and it's very precise.
Well,
and it's a bit the way I live, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, which is great. And there's obviously beautiful spaces around the property. I love this bench and table. Where are they, old pieces or?
Yeah, they are old pieces that a friend of mine who has a gallery found them for me in a very old place in France. And they are very, very heavy. Now they moved, they're not here anymore, you see, because I move everything all the time.
Yeah, it's changing.
Yeah, with me, each time you go home, you don't know what is waiting. But we moved. It's very heavy, but it's I love the lines, and it's very natural with those pieces of wood. It's not something too stiff.
No, it's wonderful. I think we should also say, so obviously the photos from the book have been made by Mathieu Salvin, who is a good friend of yours. He's a very accomplished photographer. He's worked a lot for us at Elle Decoration, and we're big fans. And so this was something that you worked on during lockdown, I believe.
Well, I started, during the lockdown. This idea of book came from there because we say hosting, but I don't host that much. I have such a big family and very close friends. I'm not someone very social, but for the people I love, for my family, my close friends, my joy is to share and to cook and to make tables and to make them comfortable. And that during that lockdown, I took care of my family a lot, and I started to do pictures with my little iPhones about my tables and the new plates of Dior who were coming out, and my sketches.
Your Instagram, I think a lot of people here will be familiar with. It's so inspiring, and it's very transporting. I love it.
Thank you. It's just, I always say that I make image to, to give pleasure and to make dream. I think that's part of our job, and especially when you work in such a beautiful house as Dior. I always say our job is to make you dream. It's my priority always. It doesn't matter if you can buy. No. The important is that it gives you something. It gives you dream or pleasure. And I always say that, especially during the COVID, when, Aristotle, the philosopher, used to say, when nothing goes right, always turn yourself for beauty. Always look for the beauty. And I think beauty is something that always brings you up.
Such good advice. Absolutely. It's brilliant.
So that's how I started a bit to do my picture on Instagram, and I was putting my tables, and suddenly, everybody was connecting like, oh, can we buy those plates? Can we buy? So I was doing PR, I was like on the phone with the stores in Dior and say, okay, that woman would like a delivery there. That woman would like, and so really it started like that. And then Mathieu, I have also my partner at work, and she said to me, you need to do the book, you need to do a book. And I was like, no, I'm not, I'm too shy to do that. And she said, no, you have to share those tables and the way you do the flowers. She pushed me really. And so we asked Mathieu, and Mathieu started slowly during the lockdown, and then he spent lots of weekend with us, but he's a very close friend. So
no, he's fantastic.
yeah.
Let's look at. I think we have. I think this you said was the first photo that you did during lockdown. If they put that up now. This one here.
Yeah, exactly.
We've moved into the house and we're showing obviously these gorgeous table settings which are throughout the book. And this is I think the Muguet. It's the
Lily of the Valley. Yes. So that is the new Lily of the Valley that came out during the COVID, during the lockdown. So Lily of the Valley is the flower, the favorite flower of Mr. Dior. He was very superstitious. And he always had a piece of Lily of the Valley inside of his jacket, of his suit.
All year round.
All year round. So there was a florist who was keeping it for him, especially, in a place. Because, Lily of the Valley is so fragile. It can almost start. And so... and
he used to sew it into all.
Yeah, he was teaching them in each dress of the show. So it's a flower who's very important here at Dior, and also he was giving it to everybody the 1st of May, because in France the 1st of May is the day off where it's the La Fête du Travail, work there. And he was very respectful of the people who was working for him and the atelier and everything. So he was always giving, and it's a tradition that we kept at Dior. Saying that, we have Lily of the Valley on women's collection, man collection, a perfume, and on home. And we always had, even much before me, because Dior Maison was beautiful even before me. And so I changed a bit the Lily of the Valley for this new collection. And I wanted to design it a bit like the Toile de Jouy, because the Toile de Jouy is something very strong as a DNA as well of the house. So if you look at the designs of the plates, there are Toile de Jouy designed like Toile de Jouy. The Lily of the Valley is designed like a Toile de Jouy. And each plate, the large, the medium, and the small, are different designs. And they're here mixed with some silvery from family, from Barbotine, from glasses from my family. So it's a mix from vintage and the new collection.
I love this idea. You can mix them together, the different sizes, the different colors. Yeah, it's great.
And I sent that picture on my Instagram, and this is how we started to say Lily of the Valley, who was just gone out in the store clothes. And this is how we started the book at that period, exactly.
Great. So then if we look at some more, we kind of delve into the house a little bit more. I think the next shot is a bathroom shot, which is kind of interesting. And I love this idea of kind of using small spaces, but in a very creative way.
Yes. I don't like when we don't put a lot of efforts and creativity in place that we don't see. I think that the place that we don't see should be the more important in the house. Like opening your closet. When you open your closet with me, with the tablecloths are always arranged in a way, or you have lots of crazy colors inside, or, in small bathroom, you can find crazy prints or toile de jouy. And everybody told me, but you're not going to put fabric in the bathroom.
It's actually fabric on these walls. That's the interesting thing. So it's fabric in a bathroom, but it looks beautiful.
And in my family, like my mother or my aunts, they always had fabrics in the bathroom, and I found it very cozy to have a bath with those fabrics around. So in each bathroom in my house, nearly all, there are fabrics.
That's beautiful.
And always flowers. There's always flowers in the bathroom.
Everywhere, absolutely. And you've taken different bits of furniture from your family, and you always bring bits in and move them around.
Yeah, well, I'm the one that every time someone wants to throw something, I'm always the garbage. I'm like, no, it's for me. It's for me.
Don't throw it.
What are you going to do with that art, like the chair there? We're like, okay, it's finished. I'm like, no. And I'm taking it. And this is what I like about a house. I don't like when houses are made by perfect things. I don't like when everything match. I don't like when it should be there and not there. Well, it's an old chair, but it reminds me, some part of my life where I was a happy little girl. And I want it next to my bath. And each time I pass in front, I know where it was before. It has his history. And for me, that's much more important, that feeling in a house than decoration.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then I think this is next to one of the guest rooms, which we see in the next shot, which again, I like this. It's very reminiscent of your outfit and your setting today. It mixes pink and red, which is something you're a fan of.
Yeah, I'm fan of few colors like that. I like blue and green together. I like pink and red together. It was very Yves Saint Laurent. I like it's a very tiny room. It's all with those prints, Indian prints from Simran. And you can see on the bed there is behind the bed I put that big fabric of like a tablecloth.
Tablecloth, isn't it? Which I love the idea. It's framing like a headboard,
Yeah.
framing the bed.
You should have seen me with the shelf on the top because I love to do everything myself. I'm very, I love to use my hands.
Yeah.
So I'm always, climbing the stairs and everything. And if you see the bed, there is this beautiful bed linens from family, all in lace, who are from the old castles of family, that, maybe no one can use today, but me, I stitch them so you can put the duvet inside.
Yeah.
And I mix them with Zara. Actually, there are some pillows from Zara mixed to
I love
it.
you kind of mix everything up, and it's got that kind of energy to it.
You should never be snob. It's so funny to have things from Zara or at the stores like H&M, mixed with old things. And for me, this is like the real luxury. It's not to take nothing seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this love of prints is obviously really kind of apparent throughout. And I think we've got some shots of you collect these tablecloths, obviously talking about tablecloths, which is in the next.
I'm obsessed with the prints, and I guess those are my years with Emmanuel and Laura Ungaro. I spent 10 years with Emmanuel Ungaro and Jean-Baptiste Valli. There's people that gave me this love for the prints, to mix the prints, because they teach me not to be scared to dare, And so I took that from them and from those years. And I must say, Emmanuel Ungaro was the king of the prints. And one of the living room that is in the book is actually all the fabrics of Emmanuel Ungaro on the sofas and the curtains, on the black. It's flowers on black prints, on the black. And they're very strong. And he done that in the 70s. Can you imagine? And today. You can see that coming back.
They're still so current, absolutely.
And they are there.
Yeah, and you collect these tablecloths, and you find them in flea markets, and some of your own. Some you paint yourself, I believe, as well.
Yes. There are from my design. There are some that I paint. There are some that I found at the flea market. Some that I find, big stores like I told you, Zara, H&M, and also a lot that I buy plain. And then I put them in the washing machine with the dyeing colors, and I dye them in colors. So you can find at home some very old lace tablecloths, but pink shocking, yellow flash, lemon flash. Yeah, and I hang them in the garden and they dry like that. And sometimes they go tie and dye. And I love to do those kind of things. But you can, just buy them like that. Those old things really doesn't cost anything. And you just dye them and make them special. But I'm obsessed with prints. There's so many in that closet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yes. And then this shot here, this little vignette's interesting. We've got more fabric on the wall, which is beautiful. And I believe this was a lamp of your grandmother's that you've put a different shade on.
Yes, exactly. So the whole room is with this fabric. That's one in the other guest room, and yes, it was a lamp from one of my grandmothers, and again something that I didn't want, and I put the little thing on it from Casa Lopez that I love those prints, and I think the right and the left are not the same, which is what is fun.
Yes.
And the flowers. There's always flowers in my guest rooms. And can you see the little glass from Dior Vintage? Those glasses are divine. They used to be at Dior. I have them since I'm 18.
Wow.
I love them. They are in each of my rooms, and it's the only thing that I say people don't break.
Yes. But I love this idea, and obviously the work that you do with Dior is, you're referencing the heritage and the history of the house, but then also you're taking it forward and you're looking forward, and it's, nothing stays static. It moves.
I think the past should always, brings you things for the future. This is what gives you. You should always, respect the past and use it for the future. But then after, it's always nice to, to bring it somewhere else. Today, the clients have changed. We are more and more international. We have different culture. So we always think about with the team of Dior Maison that Dior Maison should be a big bazaar. That's why we have different artists. That's why we do some links with as well Kim Jones or Maria Grazia. That's why we, because we want to have different, possibility when you have a very contemporary or modern art, when you have a, house, or when you have a country house, or when you have a tea house, or very French or city house, you can find something at Dior Maison. And that was very important for us to have that kind of big bazaar.
Yeah. And you're designing for lots of people, not just yourself. It's designing for everyone.
Never. That would be the biggest mistake. I design for Dior, and what is in Dior store is something for our clients and for the brand, and with the history of the brand. And maybe I put in some pieces a bit of my personal touch, of course.
Of course, you bring taste to it, which is important, obviously.
Maybe, I hope, but the most important is to respect the DNA of the house and what the desire is outside, and our job is to feel that desire. And so, yeah, the past is still there. There's a lot of past. We respect it and we bring it forward. And I like to keep everything archived. So that's why some of the pieces are really with me and staying with me.
Interesting point. We can talk about. We met briefly in Milan a couple of weeks ago because Dior did an amazing presentation of the Medallion Chair, which is obviously a very classic piece. And it's been reimagined by 16 designers, I think 16, from India Madavi, Pierre Ivanovic, Baron. You've got some French from all over the world.
From all over the world, South Africa, all over the world. And this is what about Dior is amazing. And Mr. Dior himself was obsessed by artists. He was in Paris with all those very young artists who became so famous. And I think Dior always stayed very close of artists and architects. It was a great and brilliant idea from Dior Maison to have that exhibition. And once again, you see how old and like old-fashioned is that Medallion Chair.
Yeah.
And it's still there. It was the first chair in the store of Mr. Dior. It's one of a very strong code. And look how the artist had responded to it. So how the future and the past is connected is so important. I loved it. It was a brilliant idea.
No, it's very exciting and
was poetic, and there was a lot of poetry in it. And yeah, it was.
We're going to feature it in the magazine going forward, I think, which is great. So, kind of watch this space. And I think if we go back to the house, I think if we get some more images up. I love this idea of cabinet of curiosities, which seems to be having a kind of comeback in some ways. So. This is yours, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a very old. Actually, it was not fitting in the room. We had to cut a bit of the top of the of it to get in. But it's from the 18th century, and I love those, and I love the colors of the patine. And yes, I just put things like that. I don't think about it. I know some people study a lot what they will put and why and how.
Yeah.
I'm not enough organized in my head to think that kind of things. I just put things like that, so it changed a lot. Sometimes I take out something
constantly shifting. Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes give me a gift and it's beautiful, so I put the vase there. But it takes my whole wall in one of the living room, and I love that piece.
But it represents your personality.
Yeah, my mess. My mess in my head.
No, it's good. I think a little bit of mess is good. And then if we, again, talking this kind of history, this is great. I love this image. This image is beautiful. The fabric, kind of the profusion of the flowers. And you said it was quite an old fabric, this one.
Yeah, it's a very old fabric. And those two little chairs were from my family in Greece, and they were from the, I think, 18th century. They are done with wicker and gold wood, and very fragile. If you sit on it, it's finished. So that's why I'm putting the books.
Yeah, I was going to say, they look very delicate.
They're very delicate. I love them. I always, grew up with them. They are in this living room with this old fabric. And I must say, I took the inspiration of that room with the fabric and the black frames of the painting from the living room of Lee Radziwill, done by Mongiardino. It's those images where she has all those furniture a bit black with that So it was completely inspired by her living room, I must say. From un giardino.
Exactly. I think it's great, and I think, like you said when we were talking before about Ungaro, that having the black with the florals is just kind of such a strong.
I love the black in the flowers. I think it's very strong. Even in the book you will see there is one page where I have those tablecloths for Christmas on black with those big flowers in colors, and you could think it's sad, but not at all. It's like super strong.
It's really kind of drama, and it's punchy, which is great. Fantastic. And I think obviously we talk about flowers a lot. Flowers are throughout the book, part of your style and what you do, the way you kind of decorate with them, the way you arrange them, and I think you said you're even thinking of doing a flower farm.
Yes, that's my new obsession, right? I want to do a flower farm. I have a meadow at home, and it's not my idea. It's really Milan, who's my landscaper, Brian landscaper, and he said, he loves so much flower. I would do a farmhouse for you, flower farmhouse. And I said, okay, let's do it. And he said, like that, you can have all your own flower as much as you want. So now we are studying like where we put the peonies and dahlias and everything. But yeah, I must say, my mother loved flowers. My grandmother used to paint them. I grew up in the flowers. I think, you always keep something you always come from somewhere. Things doesn't come to you like that, or you learn from someone, or it's because you've been in the middle of it since you are small. You can reject it, or you can, take it with you and make it your own way. But I think, that's something that I got from my mother and from my grandmother. We used to press the flowers with my grandmother and make those paintings.
And what are your tips for using in the home? What are your tips for using flowers, arranging them? What's your ideas?
Well, I always say that the flower should be the star. So don't take the star from the flower. It depends, if it's like a beautiful dahlia or beautiful peonies, I like to put them like stand alone in one vase, just alone, so she can stand like a queen. I love very natural flower arrangement. I'm not someone who will do round bouquet and really thought, I just put them like that. They should be delicate, very relaxed. Even at home in city, I'm not, flowers, I like when they live and they're not, too packed or too round and everything. I love also to put a lot of them, the same ones, in one vase, or to mix them just like that with ups and downs. I must say that, I don't know for people who follow Willow Crossley on Instagram, but she's great for arrangement. I learned a lot with her, on Instagram, and she was putting light, on us for the cove.
Yeah, I think it's such an incredible area in terms of how creative people get with their kind of flower arranging. And I love these vases. And you were saying you collect vases and you sort them from all over.
So all the little vases, the one you see on the image, they are vases, the Clichy. It's a place where in France you do those kind of glasses. I had 3 of them in my bathroom from my grandmother since I was a little girl. And from, maybe I started 20 years old, I started to collect them, and I have them in yellow, I have them in a lot of colors. And, even my partner at work, when they see it on eBay or in the flea market, they get it for me. But, you can find them on eBay for nothing, for £10 or, but I think
exactly that's the thing.
To have a little place, and to have a little place hide in your house with a lot of little vases, and you can change them, like on the chimney sometimes you put 2 blue and the day after you put 2 in terracotta, and then and suddenly your whole living room is changing because you change the 2 vases and you put colors or wood or wicker, and those are little things, little details. We said that devil are in details. Well, exactly, those little details change rooms, and a house with no flowers is sad, I guess.
Very sad, absolutely. So I think if we move on, talking about wicker, I think we have a kind of a display of vase in the next image, perhaps. We have the next, I love this. This for me is so French because, basketry, wicker, I think of Atelier Vime, and, it's part of...
Atelier Vime is divine, right?
I love their stuff, and I think, but there are so many different baskets, and I think they look gorgeous as
That's my
displaying
obsession
here.
that's my obsession with bunny melon. I'm too
Yeah.
obsessed by bunny melon, right? I wanted the same. No, to be those baskets, they come from all over the world. Actually, there's a lot from France, but there is from Morocco, there is from Colombia, there is from Italy. And I always have little ones from Japan as well. I can even carry them in town in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with wicker, and I must say I'm so happy.
At the house, it's part of the Dior aesthetic as well. That wicker,
exactly.
The baskets are part of the collections, and
yes, they were already there when I came with those little baskets on the table, who are like the best sellers. And of course, I kept them. I love them. But then we developed them more, and we have now different shapes and different things, you know, even to put the garbage and to put your magazines, and they're doing great. And I must say, wicker goes with everything. You put in a room like a little basket, put your magazine, it looks super chic. To put the wood, to put your papers, to put next to your bed a little tray in wicker with a glass. It looks super chic quickly. And on a table, it looks, you know, relaxed. When you use a bit of silvery, you use a bit of wicker, and it makes it less.
Yeah, and I think it works in contemporary settings. It works in more traditional settings.
Everywhere.
It's very versatile. No, I love it.
I love them too.
Really beautiful. And then obviously, you know, kind of talking about the book, there's so much about tableware recipes. There's a lot of recipes, I think, from your family, which you've introduced through your kind of the history of the family.
Yes. Family, friends, you know, things.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And these gorgeous table settings, which are kind of, you know, there's such variety, and it shows you there's so much flexibility in ways you can kind of do that stuff. Also, the book is split into seasons, and I mean, I was going to ask you, do you have a favorite season, or are you very much, you like every season because it gives you different opportunities?
I'm talking about it in the book. I love every season. It's so hard to choose, but I must say that I have something for fall. I don't know why. I think that, you know, when you arrive in the fall, you start, I think it's about the garden, because you start to plant everything for the summer. So you are starting to give a life to the things that you are starting to prepare the life that what will arrive in the spring.
Yes.
And also I know I'm probably the only one saying that. I love to be also a lot inside. I don't like to go too much outside at night. So, you know, the night comes quicker, and there is always that, you know, the weather, like the broom. I don't know how it's said in English. The brouillard.
The mist.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think you can see it in the book. I asked Mathieu, and I said, I want that fog a bit all over the book. I want it to be like an old, you know, like an old album of family, a bit like a book of Proust, you know, like those. It could be Proust, you know. I'm obsessed with Proust, and I think there is a melancholia there that talks to me. Maybe I don't know why. I should maybe.
No, I like that.
I have no idea, but I like.
Colors are great as well at that time of year. The color,
the colors, those yellow, those gold. I think it's shining. People say, "Oh no, it's sad." I say, "No, it's not sad. It's like it's shining," and especially when suddenly the sun gets out on those leaves completely gold. I think in Central Park, actually in New York, it's completely, for me, I can stay for hours to read those colors.
Yeah, just looking at them, it's fantastic. And then if we look, I think if we go back to the images, we can look at some of these different table settings during different seasons.
So people think that I take a lot of time to do that when they come for dinner at home, or when I have friends like a Sunday night or Saturday night. I said to them, okay, come at the countryside, very relaxed. And like, what is this table? I mean, I do very quickly. It really takes me 10 minutes to do that.
Exactly. And this is a really interesting image, because here again we're looking at the muguet, the lily of the valley. We're talking. It shows you this mixture of the old and the new Dior approach to lily of the valley, doesn't it?
So you see, the little glass is a new collection from Dior Maison, designed by me. And the tray in plexi with the canage is one of the strong codes of the house too, like quite contemporary. And we have them in every color. And then you see the plates and everything. It's done. I have them from Dior Maison since I'm 18 years old. Okay. So it's a very, very long collection of Lily of the Valley. And I think the whole things together work. And the little table set is designed by me. I done it at home just for my house. and it's blue and green. I was telling you I like to mix, and suddenly the lily of the valley is blue. And well, I think it works all together super well. All new, personal.
Yeah, no, it's perfect, and it again shows you that history. Then I think we're moving outside next. So this
peonies of the garden.
Peonies, beauty.
They're definitely the stars, right?
Yeah, completely.
Can you see the little glass inside? There is that little coccinelle bug. How we call them in English? I'm sorry,
like
my
beetle. Is it like a beetle?
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, the one lucky one.
Yes.
So you know that it's floating in the middle. When you put the water, it looks like floating. Those are Dior Maison glasses that I done. Yeah. And that there's many with other things, surprise in the glasses. Yes. And those are my plates from Milly, inspired by Milly Laforêt, who was the house of Mr. Dior out of Paris. He was obsessed by flowers. He was obsessed by his country house. He was obsessed by his garden and by gardening. And so I wanted to create all, the things that were around the water in that place. So you can see the 4 clover leaves. You can see the butterfly. You can see all the little insects. I mean, a lot of things that are on the plate, and it's Milly Laforêt.
Sums up all those worlds, kind of brings those worlds together, which is fantastic. And again,
with Indian print, you see, I mixed it with Indian prints. So
and I love all the colors. And if we move to the next shot, again, this idea of color coming together, which is great. The blue of this table is divine. I love it. And
I love that table.
Yeah.
Table that I found in the cell.
Next shot, I think, if we move to the next shot. So here it's
flower.
Yeah, so it's late summer. It's Indian summer. It's got that kind of vibe. I love the blue and the yellow together. It has a vibe.
You see how simple it is, right? It's super simple, just on the table like that. Very countryside table. And this is, how I want a collection to live. There are Dior Maison collection. Of course, they are beautifully done, but they're just lively here in the countryside in a very simple way. Yeah. It doesn't need more, just few sunny flower on the table. And they can be perfect at home in a city, on a beautiful table, full of crystal or silvery, but they can be also very cool here in the garden, just like that on the table. And sometimes I like to keep the table very simple. Those are the sunny flower from the meadow in front of my house.
So beautiful, which is good. And then I think we have another one, which is, again, a bit more romantic, a bit more kind of...
the Toile de Jouy.
Yes.
So you see, that was the link that I'm talking to you about with the fashionable collection, where we have links also with the other department, like woman or man. And I think it's super funny. And those are great, and they exist in many colors. And same, we always play them at the store with the Jean Roger palm trees, more exotic or tropical way, and here they're suddenly much more romantic in the garden with like those latte cafe dahlia pink and pink. And again, that thing to mix pink and red that I love. It reminds me those colors of Yves Saint Laurent when he was working for Dior and he was using those shades. He probably had a bit of Morocco in him before. Knowing,
brightness to them, absolutely. And I just love this. It's like the most fantastic picnic outdoor dining setup. So tell us a bit about this. So this is.
So it looks like crazy, but it took us. I promise you can ask Mathieu. It took us like 15 minutes to do. Yeah. It's a piece of wood with the chair of the garden. We put them in the woods because we were very often doing horse riding and stopping for doing picnics. So we said, let's make a crazy picnic. And then Mathieu said, oh, no, I want to do the picture there. Yeah. So we took that piece of fabric, of, old tablecloth with the lace that you maybe cannot see on the picture, but it's full of lace. And the table in wood and, the chair are not matching. And this is what is doing the picture. And everything that you find on the table, I think I took few roses from the garden from the end of the summer. Yeah. And the rest were all the leaves from the woods. So we took the apple.
Everything around you.
Yeah, the little thing brown on the leaves, everything comes, you see. Yeah. It's all from the outside, the apples from the kitchen, and we done it very naturally. The plates are plates from Dior Maison from the 70s. They belonged to the mother of my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And she found them, and she knew that I was taking over Dior Maison, and she gave it to me. It was one of my first things that I got from the archives from Dior Maison. So I really love them, and I think today I know they're redoing it, the factory and everything, but actually they were in Dior Maison in the 70s.
They're great, and they again, this whole kind of 70s vibe. They look so.
And they work everywhere. You know, can you imagine? So many years after, it's still working. So, you know, think like fashion, you know, there was Saint Laurent always said that fashion passed, but style stays. And that's like totally an example that will always stay.
Completely. And then I think the final image we have is a kind of slightly more festive, celebratory setup back inside, which again has the candlelight and the bouncing off the mirror. So tell us, where is this in the house?
So that's my boudoir. It's a little room next to my room where I like to work and watch TV. And during the lockdown, this is where at night I was working a lot. This little Venetian mirror was to me when I was a little girl in my room. And that table is completely a bit my craziness, right? It's super opulent. It's very, the tablecloth is strong, it's navy blue. I love to use very deep colors like that in the winter. I think we should never be afraid to use dark colors on the tablecloth when you have very brightening flowers. And the thing is that, you know, for me, sharing the meals or, you know, lunch, dinners, and having my closest friends or my family, I love to, you know, I love to please them. I love to share things. I love to bring beauty. And very often I love to surprise people. So, you know, we can have dinner in the kitchen, but suddenly the day after I would have moved the table and we'd be in front of the chimney in the living room, or at the summer in the end, like in the woods, like we see, or in the end of the garden. I think I don't like things boring and always the same. So that table arrived in that boudoir. And they were like, "But Mom, where are we having dinner for Christmas?" And I said, "Oh, you'll see." And I had on those 2 little tables there. And there's and it's a mix of Dior, and you can see the baccarat glasses from family, and the plates of Dior, and the silvery old ones, and the chandelier from Dior. So it's really a mix again from personal things.
But I love this idea that what you do is so inventive, and like you say, you don't just do all your meals at the same place. It's like you move around.
No. Well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let me tell you, I do a lot of mistakes too.
Yeah, and I love this. So again, this fabric on the walls is a Le Manac.
Oh, Le Manac, yeah.
Yeah, and do you often match the fabric on the walls with the fabric on the curtains? Is that a kind of thing that you do on purpose?
I like when the rooms are small. I always do that because I think that the more they're small, the more you need to charge them. Well, this is my way of doing it. I don't say if I'm right or not, but I like when the rooms are small to charge them and to have everything. And when they're bigger, I use different fabrics for the curtains and the wall. But it does, you know, I say there's no rules.
No, but I think that's interesting as well, because I think actually it goes against a lot of people think in smaller spaces you can't use things that are calmer, but I think you can actually use bigger,
charge it.
Centric.
For me, completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go for it.
Fantastic. Which is great. Well, thank you very much. It's been fascinating having this kind of insight into the book. I can't wait to see the rest of it. And congratulations on. I mean, I don't know how you've managed to pull that together with all the other jobs you have, but and yes, and I look forward to seeing your next collections and the future of Baby.
There's a lot coming. There's a lot coming. We're going so fast at Dior Maison. There's so many things coming.
It does seem to be in a really good place at the moment. So fantastic. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you again in the future. And we look forward to being back in the flesh.
I hope next time for live. I'm sorry it's been like that.
Yes.
But thank you for your time. I was very happy to be with all of you.
Thank you so much.
Have
Thanks
that
very
thought.
much. Take care.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.